Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K Collector, and Commando Steel Disaster is a $200 game. Cannon Spike is another $200 game. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, easily another $200 to $225 game. Blood Will Tell, a $350 to $400 game. Burning Rangers, a $600 to $700 game. Last Resort, a $700 game. Do you know what all these expensive video games mean? Absolutely nothing. Expensive video games, having expensive video games in your collection is not a flex. It does not mean anything. Not to people in real life anyway. Having expensive video games is probably important to people in the video game community, probably to people who collect retro video games, who perhaps want to have some of these video games in their collection. But having expensive games is not a real life flex, because in real life, there's a hierarchy of needs. And that hierarchy of needs starts with shelter. So a real flex would really be, how much property do you own? How much real estate do you own? How much gold do you own? How much paper assets do you own? Those are flexes, because those are real life flexes. Those are things that people need universally. Everyone needs a place to live. And a lot of times, YouTubers, myself included, a lot of times we'll show expensive games on our channels. And a lot of times, like in my case, if I show a game outside of this video, of course, if I'm showing a game, it's not just because it's expensive. I'm more than likely showing it because it's a really good game, or it's a game that I've probably always wanted but wasn't able to get back in the day when it was cheaper. And now that I'm an adult, I'm able to actually buy the game. And this is what happens to some folks who perhaps you spent, when you were a child, you weren't able to buy the game. And maybe you spent your 20s working in school and building up in your career. And now, now you're an adult and you have the disposable income perhaps to go pay full price for some of these games. It's not something that I would recommend, but it might be something that you can now do because you've put in the work to create the wealth needed to indulge in some of these retro games. And I think that it is really corny when collectors or YouTubers or anyone tries to present these games as a flex, or even when someone, if you're the type of person who always has to point out how much you paid for a game that's really expensive, or how much of a deal you got on it, that's cool. But you got to keep in mind that these are not real life flexes. Saying you paid $5 for a game that's worth $200 really means nothing to anyone else outside of the gaming community. Now, if you said you paid $50,000 for a house that's worth $500,000, now that's a flex. Now you really got a deal. That's something that you can really hang your hat on and be proud of, because these are real life wins. Now, I'm not saying this to take away from anyone who feels accomplished or has that warm feeling from knowing that they got a good deal on a game. I'm not trying to steal your joy, but I think this mindset is what can be intimidating to folks who are, interested in getting into retro collecting and perhaps buying some of the more rare, expensive games. The other day, I showcased a game called Spike Out Battle Street, and I didn't even talk about the price of the game because that wasn't important. I just mentioned that it's a really, really cool beat 'em up on the Xbox, on the original Xbox. It's a fun beat 'em up. And it really is. It's like a combination of Tekken and Die Hard Arcade in one. And a lot of the comments that I got under that video were viewers saying that they had never even heard of the game. And one comment that struck me was from a viewer who mentioned that they were getting ready to go pick up the game and saw the price and decided not to do it. Now, I leave it up to the viewer, only you can determine what a game is worth. Some people might think that Spike Out is worth it. Some people might not. But that's for you to decide based on where you're at financially and your hierarchy of needs. To me, it's absolutely stupid for someone to pay even $20 for a video game when they barely have $5 to buy food or to put gas in their car or take their girlfriend out on a date. Life is relative, right? So we kind of have to get out of this mindset, I think, to a degree of putting so much value on games in terms of how much we value ourselves. You know what I mean? Like I said, video games are not a flex. They're cool. Don't get me wrong. Do I love having a copy of Commando Steel Disaster? You better believe it. This game is hella fun. This is like, I said it a bunch of times, but Commando Steel Disaster is like if Gunstar Heroes and Metal Slug had a child. It would be Commando Steel Disaster. I love this game. It's a very fun game on the DS, and it's rare. It's even more rare when it's complete in box, but that's not why I have it. I have it because it's a beautiful game. The 2D pixel art on it is amazing. You've got great weapons. And the one thing that this game has that Metal Slug doesn't have is that you can actually roll in this game, which I thought was really cool. And I think you can use the roll to actually dodge attacks, if I'm not mistaken. So, and the other thing too is that unlike Metal Slug, you don't die from one hit. You actually have like an energy bar, like a health meter, which I thought was actually really cool in this game too. But that's besides the point. The point of the matter is that expensive video games are not something that you should be aspiring to. If you are in your, 30s, 40s, you're established, you own your home, or you're where you want to be in life, you have your family, you have your, kids and stuff, and you have the disposable income to acquire these games, you're in a different space and you've met your priority of needs. But if you're someone who's like still living in your mom's basement, or you have not, realized your actual life goals and your claim to fame is a copy of Burning Rangers, that's what you're hanging your hat on, you really got to go figure out something else to do in life and figure out really what life is about, because it's definitely not about this. I love having some of these games. Some of these games are a ton of fun, but what I love even more is my family, traveling with them, being with them, doing fun things with them, and establishing a hierarchy of needs. So I just thought that this was like a very interesting PSA that needed to be put out there. I'm currently kind of doing a little bit of inventory, so forgive me. I'm actually going through all of my controllers. I'm trying to make sure that everything that I have cataloged on GameEye is accurate, because I'm trying to get a estimate of what my total collection is worth. So I'm kind of using GameEye to kind of help me figure that out. But while I'm sitting here and as I'm getting to some of the more expensive games, I'm like, these games are fun, but they're definitely not a flex. This definitely isn't what life is about. I like them because they're tons of fun, and I love these games in terms of just what they are, the art style, the gameplay. But they're definitely not a flex. So do me a favor. Let me know down in the comments what you're most proud of in life. Let me know what you're most proud of in life. And then let me know which game in your collection you're most proud of. I'm interested to know. But don't mention the game you're most proud of without first giving me a real life accomplishment, because that's what matters more. But yeah, I'm off my soapbox. That does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.